to Survive and Advance on the Girly Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by MyBookie.ag to get up to 100% cashback bonus up to your first $300 deposit. Make sure you put in the promo code TGT100 when you go to MyBookie.ag, or to make it simpler, you can go to thegirlytruth.com, click on the MyBookie banner at the top of the page, which will hook you up also with that first deposit bonus. I am your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome my co-host, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. Middle of the week, man. It's hump day. Hump day. Hump day.
I hate people that do that.
We're only Thursday, Friday, so we're only 4 days away from the greatest spectacle in sports.
The Super Bowl was a couple months ago.
Nah, the Indy 500.
Nobody cares anymore.
Super Bowl pales in comparison to the Indy 500.
Really
300,000 fans will. Speedway, Indiana will become the second largest city in Indianapolis
Nobody
for that
cares,
given day.
That's why it's on NBC now.
I would say 300,000 people
so
care.
No, they don't. You know they don't. Even when the race was big, nobody went to the race to watch the race. I mean, shit, you can only see a quarter mile of the track at best. And most of those people are on the infield getting drunk and naked.
Nah, it went out the door in the 70s, back in your day.
Yeah, your day. Your day was the 60s. But still, nobody cares about the Indianapolis 500. It will prove it by...
Although I have to admit, I did see my first pornographic event occur in the snake pit in the Speedway.
You going to tell us about it?
No, I think I probably shouldn't tell you about it. I think you should just use your vivid imagination. It involved a mattress, a pickup truck, and a lot of alcohol.
Well, that's not pornographic. That's Indianapolis, Indiana during the Indy 500.
But it was amazing what you could do with a mattress, a pickup truck, and a lot of alcohol, and no suntan lotion either.
What's a suntan lotion have to do with that?
Because the people got burned, and it was like two lobsters doing their thing.
Okay. That's an awesome thing to start the morning off with. Let's go ahead and let's talk a little NBA hoops. Later on, we'll have Anthony Cervino on to talk a little NFL. We'll talk about the NFL possibly legalizing marijuana. Also talk about the best free agents still available. But we're going to start off with last night's Milwaukee Bucks, Toronto Raptors, Eastern Conference Final, Game 4. What?
I'm still available. I could be a long snapper.
Be quiet. All right, Game 4. The Toronto Raptors win 120-102. They dominated a game. They tied the series at 2, and I think, Steve, this surprised us both.
I didn't see this coming. Not as easily as it came.
No, I could have seen maybe a close Raptor win, but 18 points was completely unexpected.
Well, I mean, and this is 2 games in a row where Toronto has pretty well taken Milwaukee out of what they like to do. We talked a little bit earlier before the show started, kind of doing some pre-work, and it's kind of a combination of, it seems Milwaukee's playing a little lethargic, but maybe not as much as Toronto's playing some inspired basketball. Now, I don't know, Mike, do you really have any fear that Milwaukee's not going to win this series, or do you have that fear now?
Well, it's 2-2, so it's best 2 out of 3. Anything can happen, and in Game 1, the Raptors should have won that game. This series, all intents and purposes, could be 3-1 Toronto right now.
Toronto. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The thing here is this. They won this game a little differently because Giannis, 25-10, played well. Mm-hmm. But outside of Middleton's 30 points, the bench was practically non-existent. I mean, you had George Hill with 5. I mean, Connaughton with 3. I mean, there's not much there. And when you look at the Raptors, the opposite is the case where Kawhi only scores 19. Gasol dropped 17 again. It's the second game in a row. He had 16, I think, in the last game. Kyle Lowry goes off with 25. But then you go to the bench. Norman Powell, 18. Fred Van Vliet, 13 points. Serge Ibaka, 17 points. So right now, I mean, the last 2 games, the difference has been the bench of the Raptors has outplayed the bench of the Bucks, and I don't think anybody saw that coming.
That I had that notes written down, but also have they figured out how to guard Gianni?
No, he had 25 and 10 last night.
Yeah, but how effective were his 25? I mean, when you lose by 20
it doesn't
points,
matter. I mean, his 25 could be overly effective, and it doesn't matter because nobody else outside of what? Who the hell am I thinking of? Outside of Middleton, nobody did anything. So this is Meritic, Lopez, Bledsoe. The other three starters outside of those two combined for a total of 24 points. And then when you get George Hill and the bench combines for about the same thing, you're just not going to win. I mean, we've talked about this before. Kawhi, and the reason we thought the Bucks would win this series was that Kawhi Leonard was a great player who could take the game over, but you could allow him to score 40, shut the other ones down, and win. That's what Toronto did in Milwaukee last night, while Toronto has Gasol, Lowry, Powell, Van Vliet, Ibaka all scoring in double figures. So if they could continue this, yeah, they could win the series. I think this series, I would favor Milwaukee because they're the home team. And I think they're the better team. But you can't overlook the fact that I know I'm not huge on home court advantage. But Toronto, maybe they're like the 87-91 Twins where they may not be the best team, but they're so hard to beat at home when they play much better when the crowd gets behind them. And it's basically the bench guys play much better. The only problem is it's best 2 out of 3 and only one more is at home.
Right, and I put a little more faith in home court advantage than you do. And I don't know why I do that. I just think that sleeping in your own bed, driving your own car, eating in your own restaurants, it all little nickel dime things that add up to $1 bill. And, if Milwaukee comes in a day late and $1 short, and you have a 2-2 tie now. So I agree there's not one part of playing at home that's significant, but there's a lot of little things that just go into it that make a difference. But clearly, right now, Toronto's playing much more inspired basketball. And basically, if you look at the table of the benches, Milwaukee got minutes. They got 18 minutes out of Ila Stoiva. Hill gave 27 minutes. Bragdon gave 28 minutes, but they got no production out of him. Whereas, again, you have the guys you mentioned, Powell, Iqbal, and Van Vliet.
Is that Ichabod Crane's illegitimate son or what?
I know. Yeah, it's early in the morning in Los Angeles. Okay,
it's not that early.
Not that early, no. But we were up all night with a dog that went lame. You don't know what he did. He's been hobbling around on 3 legs, and we don't know if he's done something stupid or not. But anyway, regardless, you get the same amount of minutes, but you get tremendous productivity. You get solid double figures out of all 3 of those players. So this is definitely a case where this has become very dangerous for Milwaukee. They need to right their ship real quick, or they could be looking at being down 3-2 and going back to Toronto. And I don't think the Bucks want to face that because I don't know that they're that good. They don't have – I mean – I know you think Gianni's the best player in the league.
Because he is.
But I don't think he's a Steph Curry type player.
No.
He's not a player.
I don't think he is.
Opinion,
I still think, and I made this statement before, I think Steph Curry is the best player in the league. But outside of Steph, I take Giannis.
Well, yeah, I agree. Steph is the best clutch player in the game. I mean, when you chips on the line, you want the ball in Curry's hands. You want the offense built around him. And I don't know that I would say that about Gianni. I mean, he's a great player. But I look at the last 2 games where he scores. He basically does nothing the previous game. And, again, 25 points, 10 rebounds. It looks like a solid night for sure. But how effective was he in altering the course of the game?
You can't alter it if nobody else is giving you any help.
Giving you any support. Correct. You're right. But, I mean, Steph is a player to me that can do it on his own. He just get out of his way. Now Steph doesn't play that kind of basketball. He involves everybody in the game.
Well, I don't believe that's true.
Still, he's the kind of
player.
When
Steph scores 37, he's got Klay Thompson dropping 25 or 26. Now, he did have Middleton drop 30, but there was nothing else. In Golden State, no matter what you want to say about Steph carrying him, their bench has been huge. I mean, what we've seen so far in these series is the team that has the most production off their bench is usually the team that wins the game.
Yeah, and that proved fruition. They won easily too. I mean, the game wasn't as close as 102-120 because Milwaukee dumped in a couple threes in the last 10, 15 seconds of the game where Toronto wouldn't even guard them. They just came down and popped it. It was over 20 points going into the last 30 seconds of the ball game. So Milwaukee needs to right their ship real quick. And it's kind of odd. We thought that the knockdown drag-out series was going to be Portland and Golden State. And here they clean sweep 4-0, and we thought Milwaukee would push over Toronto. And now this series at 2-2. I'm excited about watching tomorrow night, watching how this thing unfolds. I think Milwaukee comes out and reasserts some dominance. But Toronto's one of those teams that just gets hot, gets on a juggernaut. And, boy, you don't want to give a team like that an open or cracked open door, because that's a team with a guy like Leonard leading you. They'll bust right through it. They're doing that right now. Now, how much did Milwaukee overlook these? They overlooked last night. They didn't come back prepared well tonight. And Toronto
I don't know why
the
they would overlook last night. But let's go ahead
I don't
and let's switch to a little NFL football, which brings us from the FF Face-Off, one of our NFL people, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great, guys. Nice to be back.
God, Anthony, I miss that voice so bad. I'm so tired of listening to Goodpaster and his southern drawl, Lawrenceburg, Indiana voice. I so miss that East Coast slang. So,
all right, is the
welcome
love affair
back
over between you two, so we can continue the show?
No, I don't know. I've got some more superlatives to say about Anthony and his show, the FF Face-Off, which I follow every day and really get into it, and learned a lot about fantasy football and NFL football more from a different perspective than just rooting my Colts on, who are going to be in the Super Bowl this year.
No, they're not. So let's go ahead and let's look at the NFL has struck an agreement with the NFLPA this week that calls for further study of alternative therapies for pain management. The NFL is sending signals that it has an open mind, which we know they don't, but they'll send us signals, that possibly they could use marijuana as a pain remedy, Anthony. As a Cowboys fan, this would mean there'd be a lot less arrests for the Cowboys. But what do you think about it overall?
I think overall it is something that's necessary. Personally, I have had issues in the past. I've had, a neck surgery 10 years ago, and I've been through the line with doctors over-prescribing pain pills, and now all these years later, the only thing I probably really needed was medical marijuana. I think that there will be less future issues for NFL players with addictions and things like that with marijuana, because it essentially eliminates not only painkillers but sleeping pills and a lot of other prescription narcotics that are out there. Marijuana can do with one plant.
Yeah, Steve, what's your take?
I'm for it in principle. I think first off, don't they have to clear the hurdle of getting all states to approve marijuana? I mean, how can the NFL allow it to be used when the states say it's illegal to use? I mean, I'm asking a question.
That's the big question.
I don't know the answer to that.
But,
yeah, that's the big question: is how can Indiana, which has not legalized marijuana in any way, shape, or form, where like Denver or Colorado and California and other states have, but how can a player for the Colts, even though it's the NFL says, hey, we don't care, but if you get busted by your state police, you're busted by your state police. We're not going to come after you. I don't know. Might it be better to, and I've never tried pot in my life. I mean, I don't like smoking. It's basically a principle of smoking for me. But my son got me using the CBD. And I'm going to tell you what, I swear by that. I've got neuropathy in my legs, and that crap makes a difference in terms of the pain management. And I'm all over the CBD stuff now. And
yeah, but the problem is CBD is not legal in the NFL either, or the NHL, or Major League Baseball.
But would it be more prudent, guys, for the NFL to start with CBD? But do they run into the same legal problems with CBD? I don't know if CBD is legal in every state either.
CBD is legal in every state.
I don't know that.
Indiana was the last state that legalized it last June. Federally, not necessarily.
Figure. Indiana was also the last state to be willing to sell alcohol on Sundays, too.
Yeah, so we got that, too. So there's two great things.
You got that, too. There you go.
Indiana.
But would it be more prudent for the NFL to say, look, let's take baby steps here. Let's start with CBD. We'll not challenge you on CBD. And we will certainly address the marijuana issue as soon as all states make it legal. But we really don't think it's in our best interest to go against state laws that say marijuana is illegal to use, and then for the NFL to endorse its utilization and say, we don't care if you use it. The state police are going to care, but we're not going to care. I don't know. That's discussion, not an opinion.
All right. So
I'm for it. I'm for all the reasons Anthony said, Mike, for all the reasons you said. It eliminates a mess to the NFL. It eliminates a huge mess. They do it anyway. Look at Randy Gregory. I mean, my God.
No, wait. Randy Gregory's not doing it
yesterday
for pain relief, though. That's the problem with Randy
not.
Gregory.
But then that's the other question. How many people are going to do it for pain relief? How many people are going to do it for recreational purposes and claim pain relief? Because about every player in the NFL can claim pain relief, justifiably. That's a brutal sport. How is that going to be circumvented? And there's a lot of questions to answer, and I think that we're getting our hopes up high to say that at the start of next season, pot's going to be legal in the NFL. I think this is 4 or 5 years away from happening because you got to ratify marijuana.
I don't think it'll ever be federally legal. I think there'll be certain states, but there's a lot of money behind not letting it be legal. The reason CBD is not legal is because it's made with hemp. Hemp was outlawed about 70 or 80 years ago in this country because you could make clothes, you could make rope, you could heal stuff with it. And the fact is this, there's a lot of money in not healing people. You know, Big Pharma doesn't want to heal people.
Chronic meds, yeah.
If you look at it, for 25 years. Places that are against legalization of marijuana is, of course, like the National Fraternal Order of Police, the National Association of Police Organizations. And the reason local law enforcement, they are highly dependent on federal and state money devoted to the war on drugs. If you get rid of that, they're going to make less money at the police station. I think when we look at this, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong because, Anthony, the biggest sponsors for the NFL are beer companies. And unless a player gets in a wreck and they're drunk, nobody does anything about that. But something that can help them, they won't help them with. So it goes back to the fact, once again, that the NFL has very little concern about the welfare and the care of the guys that play the game for them.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of, when you told me that they were thinking about it, I am kind of surprised. But, in states like New Jersey, we're essentially taking a step back because there is not going to be a vote here. So if the NFL is pending their decision on all 50 states being behind it, I think this is going to take a while.
Yeah, and the thing is this. It's never going to be legal in all 50 states, so can it be done if it's not legal in all 50 states, where they take it off the list of stuff? Because right now, I think, it's a Schedule 1, like cocaine or heroin. So can that be done, Steve, without this being legalized?
Well, let me ask you this question. Does it need to be legal in all 50 states or only the states that house NFL franchises?
Well, I would say it would just have to be I would think it would be the states that house franchises.
NFL franchises, yeah. I mean, as long as they get it approved in those states, I mean, whether it's in Bismarck, North Dakota or not, who cares? There's not an NFL team up there. That's not an issue, but the NFL could.
But how does it work with the New York Giants and the New York Jets when they're based out of New Jersey?
Yeah.
Well, those are states that house NFL franchises. Because actually the Jets and the Giants both play in New Jersey.
Right.
They don't even play in New York. Is there Buffalo play? Yeah, so you would have to get New York because you got Buffalo playing in Buffalo, and then you've got the Jets and the Giants actually truly playing in the Meadowlands and East Rutherford, New Jersey. So, yeah, you'd have to have both of those states. But in Maine, does it matter in Maine? We don't have an NFL franchise, but we don't care about that. All we care about is getting it legal in the states that house NFL franchises. I'm for it.
Well, how about this?
All the reasons.
Did you guys know that I think it was 1975 or so, but there was cannabis research at universities that had noticed that cannabis had huge effectiveness in reducing seizures, relieving pain, even shrinking tumors if you had cancer. And specialized strains were being bred to treat depression, anxiety, nausea, Parkinson's, and dozens of other common conditions. So this looked like it was on the fast track to being used as medicine. But in 1975, President Ford shut down all cannabis research, and they weren't allowed to go on with the studies.
In the United States, because I saw a report on 60 Minutes or one of the news magazine shows a couple of years ago. It talked about Sweden and Norway and Denmark, and they're growing special strains in climate-controlled environments in Africa. Then they're bringing them back, and they're cross-pollinating them. And there is an incredible, allegedly, amount of medical purpose for cannabis or marijuana.
It's not alleged. It's proven.
It's proven. Yeah, it's proven. But it's there, and the United States, in its infinite way, says, no, wampum bad for you. We don't have wampum, when actually there is a significant amount of medical purpose for the drugs in all the genres of medicine that you said. But I think he got back into lobbying, like you said, with pharma, saying, nah, we'd rather sell our chronic meds that people have to be on for the rest of their life.
Yeah, they'd rather people die.
$150 a prescription. Well, they'd rather they keep them along long enough so they can get a full lifetime prescription out of them for a heart medicine instead of curing heart disease. Let's just treat heart disease. I don't think that's without merit. It says that. But then it goes back to the legality of doing marijuana legally. Is there a cutoff time before game? It's like, okay, I don't really want Randy Gregory smoking a joint in the parking lot an hour before he's coming in to play the Colts and beat the crap out of Peyton or Eli or Adam, who's our quarterback? I can't think of his name. Andrew Luck, because he's on some kind of pot high and decides he's going to just take the quarterback out because he's wigged out. I mean, where do you draw the line? When you can and can't, when you have to stop taking it and use it?
What if you're in pain before the game? I mean, what
they'll
do is you're allowed to take
exactly. Great point.
You're allowed to take a psychotropic drug. You're allowed to take freaking Vicodin before a game. So why wouldn't you be allowed to? And the other thing is this: dude,
are you allowed to take Vicodin before a game? Are you allowed to?
Dude, they shoot guys up with Novocaine. Yeah. They give them Vicodin. They can do whatever the hell they want because it's big pharma.
Novocaine's just a numbing agent. Novocaine's different than Vicodin.
Well, it's a pain relief, though. And we're talking about pain relief.
But when you take a Novocaine, you're basically going to do harm to yourself, most likely, because you're not going to feel pain when you're injuring yourself.
Exactly, Vicodin, and that's all right.
You can. No, it's not all right. I'm just saying you're not affecting the outcome of somebody else by taking a Vicodin and going off on a Vicodin high and saying, I'm going to kill their quarterback, I'm going to break his neck, and not really probably even realizing
marijuana's not going to do that to you.
I don't know. I believe it would not. I would believe it would not. But I would think
unless it's laced with LSD.
Right. Would be to start with CBD and say, we'll legalize CBD now. And we'll give that a go and see how that plays and what kind of an effect that has on pain management, which is the sole purpose of doing this in the NFL. If we get good results out of that and we don't see anything whacked out or an abuse of CBD, which you won't, because, like I said, I take CBD.
How can you abuse CBD, Steve?
Yeah, I said you won't. Yeah, I agree with you. You won't, because I take it 3 or 4 times a day, and I tell you, all I feel is no pain, and I don't feel wigged out. I just
you can't feel wigged out because there's no drugs in CBD.
Nothing doesn't wig you out, exactly, right? And I understand entirely. But then maybe you move into marijuana, and I don't know what benefit does marijuana produce over CBD?
It's according
to a stronger formulation?
No, it's according to what your problem is. I mean, actually, for pain relief, overall, CBD is better than marijuana. But there are things that the marijuana with the THC can help that CBD can't. So they're two entirely different things.
Would those be the things that marijuana with THC, would those be more chronic ailments such as blood pressure, cancer? Would it not be just the sole purpose of just pain relief? Because you yourself just said actually CBD is better for pain management than actually marijuana with THC.
It's according to what your pain is. It's according what causes that pain and all of that.
Okay.
Because they're two kind of separate things, Anthony.
You're asking if they're separate?
Yeah, they're different things. I'm not asking. I mean, they just are.
Yeah, they're different. CBD is basically you get the effects without the THC, which is the high.
The buzz, yeah.
I mean, guys I've seen documentaries where like players like Randy Moss said that he played better high. That he played his whole high school career high.
Well, then he wouldn't know how he played better. Because, I mean, hell, he started off doing it from the beginning then. If you know what I mean.
I'm open-minded enough to say that I think they should continue to explore it. I think the first big hurdle is I think you've got to get at least.
See, this is the thing.
NFL
this is what people have to not to interrupt you, even I am, but THC, one of the things that it includes is reduced aggression. So I don't think you have to worry about somebody smoking weed wanting to kill Andrew Luck. I think the natural benefits of THC are they help with like the side effects of chemotherapy, MS, AIDS, spinal injury, if you have nausea and vomiting, chronic pain, inflammation. It helps with digestive health. And with CBD, the benefits of CBD are like twice of what they are for medical marijuana. I mean, it's pain, epilepsy,
for pain management,
MS, ALS, Parkinson's, inflammation, acne, dyskinesia, cirrhosis, broken bones, mad cow disease, depression. I mean, this could go on forever. ADHD, anxiety, schizophrenia, heart disease, irritable bowel syndrome. So CBD, I think, covers a lot more. And I think when you look at it, I think that the research has shown that CBD is better for stuff like inflammation and neuropathic pain, which is why you've had so much success with it. While THC, I think, excels more with cramp-related pain, spasticity, stuff like that.
Which I would think that the CBD version of the pain management would be more applicable to the NFL than with the THC version.
In most cases, I would say yes.
Yeah, in most cases, right. You're not likely to have a lot of NFL players with cancer or – I mean, it can happen.
But see, this is the other thing, Steve. I found a study that was actually done by the government at one point that said that a combination of the THC and the CBD is the ideal way to approach pain. If you know what I mean. It's kind of like an entourage effect where when you combine the two, you get everything there. So I think this is a no-brainer. And I think if nothing else, this country, for medicinal purposes, should make medical marijuana legal to anybody that has a doctor's prescription. And I think it's absolutely asinine and unconscionable that we don't right now.
Well, and the other thing that ties into it, we talked earlier about the fight by state police and everything to stop it for monetary gain. The taxation on this stuff can be through the roof. I mean, the states that have had it in place so long, say like in Colorado, they're seeing windfall tax.
Yeah, but remember this. The state sees the windfall in the taxes, but let's go with, and it's not because you worked with them, it's just the one that had just popped up. When you look at it, Pfizer last year made over $4.2 million of lobbying to different politicians. So the thing is this, the problem is not that you can make more money for the state because you can. The problem here is companies like Merck, Pfizer, whatever other companies are out there, big pharma, they will all of a sudden not make that money. If they don't make that money, they're not donating to politicians. If they're not donating to politicians, politicians aren't very happy. They don't care that the state makes more money. The only thing this politician sees is, well, I just lost this $800,000 I get from Merck every time I run. And that's the problem because the political system is designed right now for rich people to get richer. Sure. It's not designed for me and you and Anthony and people like us. It's designed, these guys only care about themselves. And it's the same reason hemp was outlawed 70 or 80 years ago, because there was big companies that were making clothes, making rope, stuff like that, and they didn't want it interfering with them. So they
Sure.
paid enough money through lobbyists back in the 1930s to go ahead and make hemp illegal, because once you made hemp illegal, you made THC illegal, you made CBD illegal, you made the whole damn plant illegal, which made it so they could make a lot of money and they kill people. I mean, you may say that they want to keep them alive forever. They don't care about that. They want to make their money. When you got to pay $1,000, $2,000 or more for drugs every year, and let's face it, last year in this country, 30,000 people died because they didn't have health coverage and they couldn't get health care. So I think it's crazy to think that just because states would get more money, it doesn't matter to the politicians that are the ones that cast the deciding vote on whether it's legal or not.
Yeah, sounds a lot like the business model of the NRA. Keep throwing lobby money at those congressmen and senators, and they'll keep approving and keeping guns and assault rifles in the hands of anybody.
What's an assault rifle? What's an assault rifle?
I don't know.
The definition of an assault rifle is a rifle that, when you pull the trigger, will keep shooting bullets with just one trigger pull. That is illegal.
Okay, well then
that's illegal in this country.
That question.
It's illegal in this country, so that's a horseshit comparison. Because an assault weapon, if you don't know what it is, I mean, there's too many people running around thinking, ooh, that gun's big and scary looking. Are you against outlawing all handguns?
This is a conversation for another show.
This is a conversation that has everything to do with this. And the conversation is this, Steve.
It's the same business model for lobbying.
Oh, God. Yeah, and I'm trying to give you a comparison here that you won't listen to because you don't want to.
Stay on trend with the NFL.
I'm staying on trend with the NFL. This has to do with what we're talking about.
Guns a lot too. Most of them carry guns.
So you made the comment that it's the same thing as assault rifles. I will make this comment. A gun has never killed somebody without somebody pulling the trigger, correct? But Big Pharma gives you this medicine that kills you, causes suicidal tendencies, and millions of people die from it. You know, the people that get shot by guns are getting shot by people, not by the gun. So you're talking about an inanimate object compared to something that is being basically forcefully given to people. Because when you go to the doctor, you trust that that doctor knows what he's doing. The perfect example of this is this. We went to the doctor for my wife who had a gallbladder problem. And he's talking about surgery. And my wife says, well, couldn't I just do this nutritionally through what I eat to flush it out of my system? And that doctor said, I've never studied that. We didn't have to take nutrition classes. And he's a doctor. So when you say assault rifles, you mean you want to ban all guns, because an assault rifle is already banned. So an AK-47, each time you pull the trigger, it fires. On a handgun, each time you pull the trigger, it fires. So it's a false equivalency. And yes, that is a problem, because I don't think any lobbyist should be allowed in D.C. But when you've got people,
I don't want to. Again, I was just enlightening.
It doesn't matter. I think it's an interesting conversation.
Because, by the same token, if OxyContin and all those drugs are taken appropriately, they're no more likely to do damage to you than is.
That is complete horse shit. That's spoken like somebody that worked for fucking Pfizer for decades.
No, I disagree with that.
OxyContin is not safe to take.
It is no. Well, whatever. Okay.
No, go ahead. Finish it. We could have the argument.
No, there's a prescribed dose that's considered that has to meet.
Yes,
FDA
but eventually,
guidelines.
after a week, your body becomes dependent.
Yes. It's a powerful, highly addictive substance.
My son went and had dental surgery done 2 days ago. He got 2 pills. That's all the dentist wrote him. He had no opportunity to get dependent on it. It was written correctly. He got 2 pills was what the doctor wrote him. That was it. Hey, no.
Yeah,
said,
and
no.
you know what? If
take
he would have made it
just
to
take Tylenol.
This is
so
horseshit.
That dentist wrote the drug correctly. He didn't get addicted to the drug.
Horseshit.
He took his 2 pills. The pain went away, and he took Tylenol for a few days, and now he's off everything.
Well, I can tell you
when
this.
A doctor
I
goes
wouldn't
and writes,
take any of
when
that.
a doctor goes and writes 25, 30 pills, I mean, there was a doctor when my son had surgery on his finger. Doctor wrote him 30 OxyContin. We wouldn't let him take him to school because he went to college, and as soon as they found out he had OxyContin, they were willing to pay him $50 a pill for one. He's like, no, Russ, you can take 2 with you at a time. If you need more, we'll drive out to Wittenberg. We'll bring you 2 more. But you can't take more than what you need to manage your pain. That's all. We do not let him take the whole bottle of 30 with him. So anything if managed appropriately.
No, it's not. OxyContin is not safe. I mean, you destroyed part of your body whenever you take OxyContin.
Okay.
I mean, all you got to do,
again,
turmeric is the best pain reliever, but you can't make any money off of that.
Pot in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, this has something to do with it. Am I right, Anthony, or am I completely off here?
I think you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing safe about OxyContin. Nothing. Just because you took it twice, you didn't get addicted, but it still damages your body, Steve.
No, there's a point of diminishing returns that says if it's written correctly,
That's what Big Pharma tells you. That's what they told you. That's what your doctor told you. It's horseshit. These doctors don't even know about nutrition, but they're supposed to help me take care of my body. That's just stupid. I mean, they go and they don't get a full education. Their education is bought and paid for by them.
If you two want to hash this one out, go ahead. But I'm off this conversation.
Okay.
All right, so get back to the NFL.
We were on the NFL.
All right, okay.
OxyContin is legal to take if you're an NFL player, but pot is not. CBD is not.
And I said all along that they should be reviewed and looked at and possibly be made legal. I think there's a lot of hurdles to clear for pot to become legal in the NFL.
Why?
Nothing that the NFL can really do about. Well, like I said, you have to get it legalized in the states first. Otherwise, you can't have players smoking pot or taking pot in an edible or however they want to consume it. And then all of a sudden the state police show up at the locker room and say, man, you know what? That's against state law. I don't care what the NFL says. They don't make state laws. So, like I said, I think you're 4 or 5 years away. I think the better move would be to try and get CBD put into place and get that cleared through the hurdles first. It's going to be easier to do. And then stage your ground on that and work it that way.
Well, I think we ought to stand our ground against Big Pharma giving us shit that destroys our body.
Well, I don't think you take Big Pharma, do you?
No, I don't.
You're
take
on a
any Big
plant-based diet.
Pharma.
Okay.
And you know what?
There you go.
I take stuff that's plant-based in my body. I don't put OxyContin in my body. My sons have never taken any form of painkillers, and I think that it is just stupid to do that. And I think it's stupid to just believe somebody just because they're a doctor. Because Western medicine is designed to keep you sick. Now, I know it has nothing to do with whether an NFL player should have freaking pain relief or not, but I think it does. Anthony wanted to have the discussion, and you don't.
Discussion about what?
Okay. All right. Anthony, anything else on the weed thing? Since Steve doesn't want to talk about it, we can go to something else.
I mean, I think...
No, I can talk about the weed thing all you want to. I'm just not going to get into head-to-head on OxyContin with you guys because, A, one, I don't know enough about it. 2, I don't use it. And I think that there's probably some purpose for it if used appropriately. Most drugs have toxicities in some way, shape, or form. So virtually every drug has some form of toxicity tied to it, especially when taking it above the recommended doses. So,
yeah. All right. Anthony, anything else on this?
No, no, we can move on.
All right. Let's talk about the top free agents that are available in the NFL still. There's still a lot of good players here. Who are some of the guys that stand out to you, Anthony? Where do you think they could end up? Because the guy that stands out to me is Gerald McCoy, who seems like a perfect Ram. And I know the Colts have already made some overtures to him also.
Well, yeah, McCoy was just released. A player like Gerald McCoy spent, 11 years in Tampa Bay and 11 years losing. If he is willing to take a discount, the Rams would make a lot of sense because they lost Sue. But the Colts are intriguing also because I've been the one saying that the Colts should have addressed their interior defensive line all offseason, and they didn't really do that. And McCoy could work with the Colts.
All right, Steve, with McCoy, do you want to see him be a Colt?
We definitely need support on the offensive line. I mean, it's a big area of weakness for the team. So, but it's intriguing what he said about him playing on a losing mentality, losing franchise for so many years in a row. I mean, does he come ready to win, or does he have it ingrained in his brain? I don't know.
I mean, he's made his money in the league. He's had his first and second contract. And at this point, a player like Gerald McCoy should be chasing a ring. Unless he's made bad investments.
Well,
I would think that the Colts are a team more geared toward chasing another ring than not chasing one. They're not there yet. They're 2 or 3 years away, probably 2 years away from picking up some more players. But that's a franchise that's more on the up and rising than it is on the downway. So it would be a good home fit for him. I don't know if he's a fit but I think that the Colts are lacking so badly at that position that they need just about anybody they can get there that's got any kind of quality left to him at all.
All right.
And the Colts might be one of the only teams who can actually afford to pay him a big contract if that's what he's seeking.
Yeah.
Maybe a 1-year deal, $1 million deal, something like that, with some incentives.
Yeah, how old is he? Is he in his
31?
He's in his 30s, obviously. 31? Okay.
But who else you got, Anthony?
A player like Jay Ajayi, the running back, he is still unsigned, and I think he could be one of those veterans who might wait until there's an injury in training camp. I don't know if we're going to see Ajayi sign until a team really needs him. And we're going to see that a lot. Whatever big-name free agents are left, and there's not many, they could realistically wait until players start getting hurt, and this is about the time of year.
All right, what about a guy like Glover Quinn? I think he's gone underappreciated for a long time. He's already 33 years old, and there were younger players available in free agency, but I think this is a guy that can help you if you need, just a guy in the defensive backfield to put you over the top and a guy that's got some experience.
Where did Quinn play last year?
Detroit, I believe.
Yeah, I think he could still add. I know who you're talking about. Defensive back.
Yeah. Safety.
Yeah, he's a player that could ultimately end up with a team like the Ravens or a team like the Rams. I know the Ravens brought in Earl Thomas, but they had a lot of losses on their defense, and we already saw them sign just last week. They brought in 2 quality pass rushers on Shane Ray and Pernell McPhee for nothing. And they're looking for value players, and Quinn could add some value to their secondary because Earl Thomas can't do it all by himself. I think they still could use another safety after losing Eric Weddle.
All right. How about Michael Crabtree? Looks like maybe probably the best free agent wide receiver left. Where do you see him possibly going?
If Crabtree has anything left, because he didn't look too good in Baltimore last year, and I know they had their share of problems at quarterback because Lamar Jackson couldn't really make the throws. Michael Crabtree, I would think maybe San Francisco, and I know that they drafted those 2 wide receivers, but how often do we see rookie wide receivers, fail in their year one? Maybe Crabtree ends up back in San Francisco, who drafted him.
Another guy that I think is interesting is Muhammad Wilkerson, the defensive end that was with the Green Bay Packers last year. What's your take on him?
I think he still has some left in the tank. he's a player that I originally would have liked in Dallas at a value, but they already got that with Robert Quinn. And for a player like Muhammad Wilkinson, what about the New England Patriots?
Yeah, I think that would be perfect for him. And, I don't know. What do you think about Muhammad Wilkerson, Steve?
I don't know enough about him, really.
All right,
he was a really talented player with the Jets. I don't think he lived up to what the Packers thought they were going to get out of him last year. And the Patriots did lose some defensive pieces. If Mo Wilkerson wants to chase that ring, I think that's going to be the going narrative with these available free agents. That who still wants a contract and who wants to win.
All right, what about a kid like Nick Perry, who I think he didn't have a good season last year, but after Shane Ray got taken off the board, Perry is a guy that had 11 sacks in 2016, 7 in 2017, only had 1.5 last year, which I think has dropped his value big time. Do you expect him to be a guy to be picked up, and where would it be a spot for him? I think he's worth the risk because you're not going to have to, sell the farm to do it.
Perry could be one of those players that ends up in, with a team like the Chargers. Goes to the West Coast. They need some defensive help. The Chargers, as good as their defense has been, I think they can use some extra pass rush help, and Perry can help that out.
All right. Is there anybody else that I've missed here, Anthony?
I know Jermaine Kearse. He's going on a few workouts now. I believe he's in a
What about
workout
Eric
with
Berry?
the Lions.
I forgot about Eric Berry.
I don't know if teams want to pay him the contract he wants, and that's why he remains unsigned. I would love Eric Berry in Dallas if he's willing to take a lesser deal.
Okay, love you.
Because they have a lot of players to pay, and they can't really afford to shell out big-time money. But if Eric Berry, now we're in May, and he hasn't really been busy on the free agent market, maybe now he's willing to take that short deal.
And what about Corey Leggett from the Chargers, who I know he got hurt last year, ended up only playing 6 games, but he's only 29 years old, and he's a viable space eater and run defender. That's a guy I could see. I think he'd fit with the Colts.
You think so? The Colts, what about Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay, they have so many losses on their line, and their defense is going to be bad, but I don't know if people realize that the Buccaneers with Bruce Arians, I think he's going to turn that team around, and they could be a nice little sleeper team if they can get their defense on track. They already lost Jason Pierre-Paul. They moved on from McCoy, and they can certainly use the help.
All right. Steve, we missing any free agents here you think we should be talking about?
No, I was looking up to see who were still available right now.
Yeah, there's not much.
There's not much left out there.
What
really.
about Morris Claiborne? Any take there? Was with the Jets last year?
Yeah, he actually played in Dallas for the first, 7 years of his career. He's a quality cornerback. I don't know if I have much of a take on him outside of I think he'll end up signed. I just don't know where.
Well, and another one I don't think we brought up yet was Trey Boston, who had 8 interceptions the past 2 years. I don't think really he's I think he's a good option for a team that's a little weak in the defensive backfield on a short-term deal.
2 teams in the NFC that could probably use defensive back help, especially at safety, that's the Eagles, because there's reportedly a rift between the franchise and Malcolm Jenkins. And then also with the Arizona Cardinals and Patrick Peterson's suspension, there is a need for a cornerback for the first 6 games of the year, or however many games he's suspended.
All right. Steve, any other comments before we wrap this up?
Is there any take on Des Bryant? Is he going anywhere? Or is he just staying with the Cowboys?
I think he's under contract with the Saints still.
Yeah.
Des did. He signed.
Last year he signed with the Saints.
Yeah, and then he tore the Achilles at his first practice.
The SB Nation's got him listed as available.
Well, he may be, but coming off an injury, he's up there in age a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to remind everybody at 2 o'clock, you can hear me and Bobby Sheridan with the Sheridan Report tonight at 9 o'clock. Inside Boxing Weekly with myself, John Einreinhofer, Jeremiah Pricer, and then me and Steve will be back at noon tomorrow. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, Zeno Live Radio. You can download our app on the iTunes Store. You can hear us pretty much whenever you turn on the computer. You type in The Grueling Truth and you'll get us. I want to thank Anthony Cervino, who you can follow. Is that at FF Faceoff?
Yes.
And you can also find FF Faceoff on YouTube. You can find most of his shows, except for when I don't notice that he tagged me in something, on thegruelingtruth.com. And even those shows you can usually find 2 or 3 days later. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. So for Anthony Cervino, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.